What's up? Welcome in. We made it. The sun has come up, friends. It is the Sooners on SI podcast, episode 266, a bye-week pod sandwiched in between the SEC powers of Missouri, question mark, and Al of Bama. I am Ryan Chapman, joined as always by our fearless leader, the publisher, 918 Hoove, John Hoover. Boss, have you recovered from the trek back from Columbia?
Yeah, it was a good trip. I got to warn you though, man. I was doing dishes about a half hour ago, and the playlist, the shuffle feature, played me some Phil Collins in the air tonight.
Yeah?
Got the drums going with the dirty butter knives, and I woke up feeling dangerous today. Let's just say it like that. I'm feeling a little Baker Mayfieldy. Let's go.
Beautiful. Hey,
Let's go.
somebody has to, because my feeling on this bye week is, dear God, I'm tired. Now, granted, I also was in a marathon press conference on Tuesday with almost all the Oklahoma softball newcomers. We'll get to that. We're recording at 1:15 on Wednesday, which means after this, I'll be headed south to Norman to meet with Oklahoma's players and probably Brent Venables. He wasn't on the SEC teleconference today. It was not I can just tell you this was not a Lincoln Riley. He's gone on the bye week. Brent's got a lot going on, obviously, and it was just a conflict with a 10-minute teleconference call. So it be what it be, but we
He'll be out.
roll.
He'll be talking tonight, like you said. You'll be there. He'll be talking tonight. So don't read anything into it.
Yeah, and I know that everyone's like, oh, no, this seriously, it's fine. No, we don't get much from the 10-minute teleconference anyway, frankly. Occasionally good stuff, but it's a bye week, so we didn't have the typical players on Monday night, didn't have Brent on Tuesday. Instead, though, we did have some news that came down Tuesday. There was a Board of Regents meeting, which means after that, Joe Harris Jr., the OU president, and Joe Castiglione, the athletic director, obviously are made available to the media. They speak, and they both gave the seal of approval, the vote of confidence. This is going to be a segment called #RyanReads. This was Joe Harris's statement. It's unwavering. He, of course, is speaking about the support behind Brent Venables. We know it's been a tough season. I've been around Oklahoma football for a long time. We have the right coach. This is our coach. That was President Joe Harris. This is Athletic Director Joe Castiglione. We truly believe in Coach Venables and our team. He went on to say, obviously, the season thus far has not gone as we had hoped or planned. It's disappointing to a lot of people, including us, even considering the significant challenges that we've had, such as an unusually high number of injuries. But it's more disappointing for the players, coaches who invested so much, yada, yada, yada. That said, we truly believe in Coach Venables and our team. We're completely focused on supporting them and looking at all the ways to address the needed improvements now as soon as possible, as well as in preparation for next year and working with Coach Venables to help in all of that process. He continues, at the same time, we want to make sure we're accentuating the strengths that we are seeing developed in our program that are growing, performing at a rate to be successful in the SEC. Holistic approach, buzzword. That was what Joe Harris and Joe Castiglione had to say. I'll just say this. When you get the seal of approval, the vote of confidence, usually that's seen as a negative thing. But usually that's seen as a negative thing when it's tossed out as like Oklahoma athletic director makes statement on Brent Venables, stuff like this. Both these guys were directly asked about Brent Venables in a press conference setting. I tend to find that like a little bit different. And at this point, what do you want them to say? Part of keeping this recruiting class together, part of recruiting in the transfer portal is projecting strength and all that stuff. And if Joe Castiglione comes out and says, yeah, we don't know. We'll see how these next two games go. Like, what does that say to Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje and all those talented commits if they go, well, the boss man says, I don't know. Why should we stay? We need to look around, all that stuff. So is it important for Brent Venables to get the vote of confidence? Sure. But I also kind of file this under the, what did you think they were going to say?
Yeah, exactly right. I didn't, you asked the question. You have to ask the question because that's our job as reporters. And good on those guys who were at the Board of Regents meeting for asking the questions. It was Eric Bailey and it was George Stoya and a couple others. You kind of break it down a little bit, and you're right. What else were they supposed to say? Like they weren't going to come out and say, do you have full confidence in Brent Venables? We're 5-5. Full confidence? I don't know if I'd say full confidence. They're not going to say nothing like that. They're not going to say anything south of that, obviously, either. But something that Harris said, if you look at a little deeper, he said, we knew this was going to be a tough year in the SEC the first year. He said, you add with that all the things that are taking place around the shifting NIL landscape, with hopefully more certainty coming next year in the if the preliminary approval becomes final in the House versus NCAA lawsuit. We knew there was going to be some turbulence. He said, we'd love to have more wins, but our confidence in coach is as steady as it's ever been. I think that's more than we asked for as media, right? That's to come back and reiterate our confidence in him is as steady as it's ever been. I think he chose those words carefully. You know what I mean? I mean, he thinks that he, in his mind, maybe Harris and even Castiglione, they're going back to that night on the tarmac there at the Westheimer Airport, and the emotion, the all the good vibes that were going that night. Yes, there's been some rough times, but I think they moved on that decision three and a half years ago now, right? 3 years ago, almost three full years ago. They moved on that decision and they feel good about it. No, we're going on 4, dude. It's 21-2 to 3.
December 2021. I was just doing the math.
December of 21. That's right. It wasn't 22. It was 21. So yeah, no, they're looking back on it and they're saying we made this decision for a reason. We hired him for a reason. He's done this. He's got to do this, and this. He's done this. This being fix the Oklahoma defense. He's fixed the Oklahoma defense. He's built some, for lack of a better word, he's built some culture pieces into the Oklahoma program that are good. There's no doubt that in that area, Oklahoma's better than it was. Now the question becomes, is that an important area to focus on? Some people say it is. Some people say it's not. Some people want the wins. Some people want W's, whether you have choir boys on campus or felons, right? So Brent Venables has gone I'm not going to say he's hired a bunch of choir boys, but he has not he's not signed any felons, right? So that's important. And I guess just, when you consider where the program was when he took it over, it wasn't tail spinning. It wasn't like out of control, but it was fading. It was fading from where it should be. It was fading from where Bob Stoops certainly handed it over to Lincoln Riley. So when Lincoln leaves, takes a bunch of players with him, so on and so forth, we've been over that ground. Brent's got some catching up to do. He's still catching up. And 3 years in, they're still losing games. They are, as we talked about on the postgame pod, they're not getting better as a football team in too many areas. And so I think that's everybody's major concern. But if you listen to the words that those guys spoke on at the Regents meeting yesterday, they don't seem to share that concern, which I find, at least publicly, okay? Politically speaking, we just went through an election. Politically speaking, they're not voicing those concerns, but so we can't say that they have them or don't have them, but they're certainly not expressing those concerns.
Yeah, United front. I would say that the two tasks on hand upon Venables being hired was fix the defense. Good job.
Did that.
Get Oklahoma ready for the SEC. That was the other thing. Oklahoma, you've written it before this year. All of us see it. Clearly not close to being ready for the SEC, as, again, their only win comes against the therapy boys in Hugh Freeze and Peyton Thorne, as I've labeled them. When you look at it, I think that this is just kind of like a result of two things. Brent Venables' buyout that we've talked about is a large number. And while there's a lot going on with the House settlement and all that stuff, I think if Oklahoma truly said we need to make this move, it's a large number, but they'd pay the buyout. It would be fine, all that stuff. But this is not let's just use another SEC example. This is not Brian Harsin, where you're not good on the field and the administration / the fans do not like you, like the human. They don't like your interactions. You're not recruiting very well, all that stuff. Yeah. Brent's recruiting great. I think that everybody around Oklahoma football wants this to work because they like Brent Venables. They like what he stands for. They like the leader that he is. The missing piece is just that the football product is an embarrassment right now. This year it's an embarrassment. So that's the missing piece. which leads us to kind of we'll go a little out of order on the rundown here, but for Brent, I feel like if he goes out and the Alabama loss and the LSU loss look a lot like Ole Miss, maybe you don't have to lead at halftime, but you're at least competitive, and it's just clear that Brent Venables screwed up the offensive coordinator hire, and because of the shortcomings of that side of the football, that's why they're not in games, but they're kind of in it. They're hanging around. They're like, if you could have put two drives together, maybe we could make that a football game. Think he'll be fine. If Oklahoma goes out there and it looks like South Carolina or Texas, where it is non-competitive for really, Texas was competitive for a quarter and a half. But let's just say Alabama goes out there and wins by like 24, 27, and then LSU does the same thing. Is there it could get so bad that Joe Sigler has to pull the plug this year, or do you think that regardless, Brent Venables is here at least in 2025?
Yeah, he's back in 2025. I do think there is a sliver, maybe a little caveat there, where if OU gets beat 58-0, right, up against Alabama, and then they go on the road and finish the season, they lose like 44-3 at LSU. I think that's a situation where Joe Castiglione and Joe Harris and the regents and everybody involved might take a step back and say, okay, wait a second. Have these guys quit on him? If you go into this December period and you start to see the 5-star Fasusi and the 4-star Foji and some of your other 4-star recruits bailing out, then you have to reassess. You have to kind of analyze where, everything doesn't happen in a vacuum. Everything happens individually and in relation to each other. So if those things were to happen, if you're non-competitive in those last two games, it looks like the team has quit on you. Let's say you get a couple of more injured players back healthy like you did last week, and you still crap the bed. You have a handful of coaching blunders that we're going to discuss here in a few minutes. You have a handful of coaching mistakes that are just like ABC 1, 2, 3 elementary type coaching mistakes that cost you a chance at victory. If all those things were to happen, then yeah, I think there might be a situation where Joe C takes a look and says, Brent, we have to evaluate this. We don't want to pay you $43 million to not coach at OU, but you have to answer for these things. And so again, the recruiting class falls apart, and the team quits on them in the last 2 weeks. I think would be the only recipe there for reevaluating this Tuesday statements.
Yeah, it would be kind of stunning for me to see if the team kind of quit on them, because give them credit. They've not been good. They've been really bad. They've not been in a lot of these games, but it hasn't just been because they've quit. It's been because they can't stop turning the ball over, or they have incompetence on the offense under Seth Luttrell. And it's kind of a tale of two bye weeks, Hoover, right? We go back to the bye week earlier this year, coming off the Auburn game. They were non-competitive against Tennessee. You saw that the offensive line was going to be an issue, but they were able to scrap something together with their backup quarterback, elevated the starter, Michael Hawkins Jr., hang around, don't have the catastrophic turnover, and then Kip Lewis pick six. They beat Auburn, and then it kind of becomes it's going to be a tough road ahead to beat Texas, but it's a rivalry game. Weird stuff happens. Don't turn the ball over. We'll see. Obviously, it didn't happen, but that was kind of the vibe of, okay, maybe take a half step, a breath, maybe something to build on going to that bye week. The last 2 weeks leading to this Missouri game, John, it was, okay, you made the OC change. They exceeded expectations in the first half against Ole Miss offensively. Didn't do anything in the second half. They played Maine. It's just Maine, but Javante Barnes had a 200. Felt like they might be doing a little bit of building blocks, things like that. No building blocks to find. It feels like it's all the way back to square one. No momentum, kind of doom and gloom as you come into this bye week. And Oklahoma fumbled 6 times. Now, one of them was the last play of the game. One of them was Peyton Bowen. So the offense only fumbled 4 times against Missouri. It was a team that was just as banged up as you were. You couldn't get it done. You had it won, then you gave it away. All that stuff. It's interesting. An interesting week in Norman with. If this is it, I'm interested to see if that was the final gut punch. I don't think it'll be, because this has been a pretty mentally tough locker room, but the momentum is poof gone, if there was any momentum anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of a little delicate right now, a little sensitive, a little raw, I think, where the team might be. I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm not making any predictions. I'm saying I could see where something goes sideways. I could see where not necessarily quit, but things start going against you, especially against a team like Alabama that is really turning on the Jets right now. I could see where things could get out of hand, and you put the football on the carpet a couple more times, or you throw it into coverage a couple more times, and you know we we talk about the fumbles, but Jackson, don't forget, almost had that pick six. You talk about lost momentum. The game that we watched on Saturday night was there were so many moments. Okay, you lose that game by 7 points. Shouldn't you probably should have won by 7 points, just all things kind of being equal, and you didn't. You ended up giving up 14 points in the final, whatever, 2 minutes. Um, it was one series after another of momentum seized. Like, you didn't just get the momentum, you went out and took it, and then you gave it right back. They didn't take it, you gave it right back, right? And there were so many instances, and I want to go through some of these. We know the obvious one. Second possession, I think, first quarter, fake punt, 43-yard gain.
Third
You look at
possession.
third possession. You look
The
at the
second possession, Arnold fumbled.
That's right. So fumble, got it back, fumble, lost, and then third possession was the fake punt, gets down first and goal at the 10. And you look at the TV copy, and Brent, they're zoomed in on him, and he's pumping his fist, and he's smiling, and he's going all the way down the field, and they're kind of just watching him as he goes all the way down the field, and nothing's happening on the sideline. Like, the offense is coming back on, the special teams is going back off, and nothing's really happening except Brent is, fist pumping and smiling and laughing and clapping and saying, yeah, that was a hell of a call. Woo, we did it. Delay of game. Were you not ready? Were you not ready to get out there and snap the football? Immediately after, you get the first down, the offense should have been turned around watching, making sure everything was going to happen on the field. And I don't know what the situation was. I get a 5-yard delay of game penalty, and then you get back-to-back sacks, and you go from 1st and 10 to a long field goal. In the second quarter, Billy Bowman gets that first down hit. Play of the game, arguably, really, truly. 4th down, they're going for it. You sprint your ass off and knock the crap out of him. You basically kind of knocked him out of the game. Not permanently, but you hit him so hard that he was not effective the rest of the game, except for that one catch at the end of the game, right? Right after that, you get a read option, quarterback keeper for 20 yards, okay? And then right after that, jet sweep to the tight end, loss of 4. What the hell kind of call was that? You go out and you seize the momentum, and then you say, nah, we don't want it. We're going to give it right back with this idiotic call, jet sweep to the tight end. End up kicking a field goal on that one. All right, so you get the ball at midfield, and you still have to kick a field goal. That's a gut punch. There was another 4 and out. Basically, they got a first down and then a 3 and out. They force a punt. Oklahoma's defense forces a punt. And on their first 4 possessions, Missouri had 13 plays and 20 yards. 20 yards of total offense on 13 plays on 4 possessions. You are stomping them into the ground, okay? You're kicking a mud hole in them. They have yet to actually cross the 50. If you take out the Jackson Arnold fumble in plus territory, they have yet to actually cross the 50-yard line. They punt the football. Bowen fumbles it. First play after that is a 19-yard completion, and all of a sudden they kick a field goal. They're on the scoreboard. They went from having nothing to the fumble, and all of a sudden they've got confidence. They've got a 19-yard play, and they've got 3 points on the scoreboard. And you're like, wait a minute. How are we not winning this by 14-0 right now if you're an OU fan, right? Late first half, OU punts the football. There's a holding. There's a false start, pushes Missouri all the way back to their 10-yard line. There's 2 minutes left. After the first play, Venables calls timeout. He thinks we're going to get the ball back here. But all of a sudden, you can't stop the run. 5 yards, 4 yards, 8 yards. but you still get the stop. You get a return. You get the 15-yard penalty by Missouri. You get a 13-yard completion to Burks. You get the clock stopped. You get a second added to the clock, right? They stop the game and say, no, there's still a second. That's every break in the book that you want. And you finish the half with a walk-off 56-yard gift field goal. You've got all the momentum in the world. And what happens? You did the research, Ryan, on the way home in the car. I watched you do it. Third quarter happens. Halftime happens. And Oklahoma folds like a cheap tent, man. How many gifts do you want in one football game? Here's another one. Missouri's starts the third quarter. They've now gone 20 consecutive offensive possessions without a touchdown. They go another 3 and out. They get another 15-yard penalty on the punt team. It's like their second or third 15-yard penalty on the Mizzou punt team. OU gets the ball at the 49. Again, midfield, a gift to start the second half. Tatum goes for 0, then Tatum goes for 5, then Tatum goes for 4. Jackson comes up, reads the option, the give option. He reads it wrong. He gives. The defense crushes Taylor Tatum for no gain. If he had kept it, he goes around the end. He either scores or he gets 20, 25 yards easy. The right side of the defense was wide open. Nothing happens. All of a sudden, now it's a game because Drew Pine, the worst quarterback we've seen in a long time, he starts the next drive with 11-yard completion. Boom. They convert 3rd and 4. They convert 3rd and 6. They fumble the football. OU can't get on it. And then they throw a clever little, nicely designed screen pass to Theo Weiss, and he basically walks into the end zone. And that touchdown streak of 20 consecutive drives, Ryan, it's over. And you're sitting there wondering, we're watching the game like, how did all this happen? And it's because OU just refused. They got the momentum, and then they just refused to do anything with it. It was really hard to watch.
Yeah, well, it's Oklahoma outscored 7-0 in the third quarter against Missouri. If you just look at it, they're minus, just in SEC play, they're a minus 29 in the third quarter. And to me, that just says the other coaching staff is able to go in and quickly analyze what's gone wrong. How do we get this fixed? How do you get another? What kind of wrinkle can you throw out there? Zach Alley talked about it after the game, right? We kind of mentioned it, that Missouri went a little bit heavier in some of their stuff in the third quarter, stuff they hadn't thrown out there in the first half, found some momentum on the other side. And maybe it's because it's a huge indictment on Seth Luttrell, and then the knock-on effect of that is you don't have a real offensive coordinator, you got an interim play caller, and maybe that's why Oklahoma's struggling with halftime adjustments and things like that, because the defense can't hold off all by itself. It's a really good defense. It's not an elite group. It's not going to pitch a shutout, but this is 2 out of 3 years Oklahoma's had these issues, and it just boils down to like, I don't know if this is the best analysis in the world. It just feels like Brent Venables is still a defensive coordinator gallivanting as a head coach, and not a head coach that's able to get on top of all this stuff. And it goes back down to like, okay, I know that they're not coaching Jackson Arnold to drop the football every time he rolls out in a big pressure moment. I get that. But if a constant of Oklahoma football the last 3 years, even a year ago when they were a lot better, is when it goes bad, it goes catastrophic. Like, it's not just like, hey, Oklahoma had that one pick six against Kansas, and it's hard to win when you throw a pick six. But a year ago, it was a 1-1 turnover battle, and Oklahoma lost. It was like, no, Oklahoma turned the ball over 3 times, one of them being a pick six, one of them being off a damn kickoff a year ago against Kansas. So that's basically gifting a literal touchdown and the ball inside the 20. Bedlam was not just 1 turnover, it was a 3 turnover experience. The Alamo Bowl was a turnover fiesta. You go back to 2022, and it was just like, it wasn't just shooting themselves in the foot. They were like clay shooting. They were shooting pigeons, just over and over and over again. And I don't know how to quantify this, but it just feels like that Brent Venables is so hectic and scatterbrained, and it's like almost so much pressure. You just don't turn the ball over, just don't turn the ball over, that everyone plays panicked in some of these big moments. And I don't know if that's to blame for Jackson Arnold looking so unclutch, because we talked about it. The last time he had pressure before this Missouri start was the Tennessee game. It looked very, very similar. pressure free against South Carolina, pressure free, whatever against Maine. He comes back in, and from the start, he looked rattled. Before he even got hit against Missouri, he looked rattled that first roll out of the game. And I think part of that lends into the fact that now, as you look, Oklahoma needs an offensive coordinator this offseason, John. They also need a quarterback because I don't know if Jackson Arnold can achieve his 5-star potential, but he's whether it's the inside of him, he doesn't have it to be clutch or deal with the pressures of a big game, or either that or his development's been screwed up so bad that he probably needs a change of scenery himself. But all of that falls onto either your quarterback not panning out, Seth Luttrell being a terrible hire, hiring a guy who's never worked with quarterbacks to develop your 5-star sophomore,
Yeah,
like all of
big
it,
mistake.
top to bottom, it falls in the lap of Brent Venables, which is why he's in this spot.
Yeah, that was a big mistake, hiring a tight ends coach to coach your quarterbacks. But it happens. You tab the wrong guy. It looks like he can do it. He doesn't do it. I don't disagree that it might be best for all parties involved, Jackson and the football team and the coaching staff and whatnot. If Jackson, I'm not saying he needs to leave. I'm saying I think it very well might be best if he did leave. Best for him, new change of scenery, new direction for the football team. You hate to see a 5-star recruit go, but let's be honest, Oklahoma's lost plenty of 5-star recruits over the past 5 years. They missed every one of them, I'm sure, at some point, but they got over it and they moved on and they recruited and everything's back to normal, right? There's no reason to panic just because Jackson Arnold wants to leave. So I don't know. He left a lot of meat on the bone on Saturday. Was it 74 yards passing? I think was the third lowest of the last 25 years, certainly since the John Blake era. The others being Cody Thomas and Davis Bevel. So double woof on that one. I think an underappreciated moment in that game Saturday was when OU gets more momentum. They punt the ball away, right? What? Is that even possible? Yeah, they punt the ball away. They pin Missouri at the 5-yard line. Missouri picks up a first down and punts it back to Oklahoma. The ball's at the OU 11. That's 86 yards or 84 yards of field position lost because you let the ball hit the ground on a punt. You didn't defend the inside leverage on the receiver that picked up the first down, whatever it was. It's little things adding up to 84 yards of field position difference that end up giving somebody, a team like Missouri, who I said it on the last podcast, and I'll say it again, might be the worst 7-2 football team I've ever seen. I know Brady Cook as a quarterback is going to change the complexion of that offense. Totally agree. If he plays the other night, we're not even having this discussion. Missouri blows Oklahoma out. So that's kind of where they're at right now.
If he plays the other night, I think the expectation was going to be different going into the game. But that's what we're talking about, right? Is in the Big 12, you're the most talented roster or the second most talented roster in every game you play. You don't have to be perfect. In the SEC, it's winning on the margins. And we thought Brent Venables was going to be a details guy. Oklahoma has failed at details for 3 straight years. If that was supposed to be his calling card, that's what he's supposed to hang his hat on. He's failed there, and they got to figure that thing out. So we move. The popular notion is just get Brent Venables an offensive coordinator. I mean, Brent Venables is also the head coach, so maybe he should have some ownership of the offense, but I don't think it's there. Your defensive coordinator is your head coach, and he's going to continue to act like a defensive coordinator. So that puts all the pressure on this hire. If you're going down the rabbit hole, Hoover, you need an OC and a quarterback. We've seen it worked out for Vanderbilt, right? Getting Beck and Pivea, and that way you have that kind of synergy. It was kind of similar with Levy and Gabriel, though it wasn't that they had worked together the season prior, so it was a little bit different. But here are maybe the 3, which ones you don't. If you were able to pick, would you want any of these 3? First off, Craddock at Tulane and Dorian Mensah, whatever. A guy that we've seen this year in living, breathing person. Tulane popped back into the bottom end of the college football playoff rankings on Tuesday night. You've got Ben Arbuckle, who was at Western Kentucky, runs pretty much an air raid. He's got John Mateer, who's got a couple of years of eligibility left at Washington State. I've really enjoyed the Mateer experience. I've been a little bit surprised. Maybe I still have this in my head, Hoove, that Leach, air raid, not necessarily throwing it downfield, but I think Mateer has a lot more arm strength than you'd probably think if you were just thinking Washington State quarterback. Maybe I'm holding the Gardner Minshew experience against Mateer because I watch Gardner some Sundays and it sucks. Or you could go to Baylor and grab Spavital, former Texas State, now OC. That Baylor offense is putting up numbers week in, week out in the Big 12. He's got Sawyer Robertson that's got a year or two left that you could bring through. Do any of those names, options, offensive coordinator, QB combos appeal to you? Do you think any of those can save Brent Venables' job in 2025?
I don't know much about the first two guys. I know a little bit, obviously, about Spav. Knew his dad as a high school coach, knew him as a high school quarterback going, and then followed his career kind of loosely. But he would be a name that would be on at least in the top candidates, right, among the top guys who apply for the job. I think he would love to be back at OU. I don't know in terms of throwing a rope around a guy and bringing him in. I'm not going to offer you any names, or even stylistically what you're looking for, whether it's an air raid guy or something out of another tree. Here's what I'm doing if I'm Brent Venables. I'm looking at the Missouri game, and I'm going to say, yeah, we screwed up big time right here. We screwed up a lot. Okay, what I need is an offensive coordinator who is not going to call for a late substitution on a promising drive that allows Missouri to sub defensively, and then I have to burn a timeout just 17 seconds into the fourth quarter, right? Like, the fourth quarter just started. Get ready. Be ready. Why are you calling timeout at 14:43 or whatever in the fourth quarter? Ultimately, that sequence did not matter because Deion Burks fumbled on a big play, a big hit on a pass play over the middle. So there's that. But if you're Brent Venables and you're looking for an offensive coordinator, maybe you could look at that last drive and say, you know what? We're trying to get in field goal position here. How about we not run it up the middle to our big fullback / tailback, Xavier Robinson? The clock is running, 2 timeouts left. We're going to hand it off in a desperation situation. We're going to hand it off for 5 yards. What the hell kind of call was that? Okay, how about this one? You've got just seconds to play after Missouri has taken the lead. You've got very little hope of getting down the field, but you've still got a couple of timeouts, I think. You've got very little hope of going all the way, but hope is all you got at this point. Your best receiver, Deion Burks, catches one again over the middle. He gets plastered. He gets hammered to the ground. No targeting. He's on the turf for like 5 minutes. Oklahoma, their immediate response, after he gets up and wobbles over to the sideline, what does OU do? Timeout. OU calls timeout in that situation. Burn another timeout. It's just that and the delay of game penalty after the fake punt and all those. They just show how ill-prepared this coaching staff is, how disconnected the coaching staff is, whether it's Joe John Finley, whether it's Kevin Johns getting the quarterbacks ready or helping with the play calls or diagnosing what the safeties are doing. I don't care. Play clock is the same every time. 40 seconds, unless it's 25 when they move to 25 after a stoppage or whatever. It's not like you're having to guess at how much time is left on the play clock. They put it up there in the end zone so you can see 30, 29, 28. It shouldn't be surprising. And yet we see this stuff happen, Ryan, over and over. You know what? If I'm Brent Venables, I want an offensive coordinator who can be the head coach of the offense and take some of this stuff, some of this procedural, mechanical stuff off my plate, because it's proven 3 years in, 2.5 years in, it's proven to be too much for Brent.
I would argue that maybe if you're the head coach of Oklahoma, you should be able to do all that stuff yourself. He's on the headset. He's allowed, which is why, not confident of his job. I don't think it matters who the OC is going to be. I think that Brent has proven he can't do this.
Right.
He is not a head coach. He's certainly not an SEC head coach. And I don't have the money. I don't have to pay the money. So I would pay the buyout now. And just why would you do 2 years of rebuild when you could just rip the Band-Aid off now? But yeah, that's what he's rolling with. That's what head coaches are supposed to do. And clearly he can't do it or doesn't know how to do it or hasn't done it. And I would say too, like, okay, let's say whoever, choose your fighter at home. If you want Joe Craddock, okay, Joe Craddock comes in, and if he solves everything and great, brilliant, he's gonna be on the Levy path, and in 2 or 3 years he's off on his own. If Brent screws it up again, so does Brent. Is all the timeout stuff gonna pop back up 2 or 3 years from now? I mean, it shouldn't take, whether you have an interim OC, whether you have Seth Luttrell or not, you shouldn't have these subbing issues if you're a head coach worth your salt, and he's not. But that's the opinion of Ryan, not the opinion of anything else. OU fans are smart. You know what it looks like. We've watched this for 3 years, and this doesn't look like what it looks like at the high level. Watch the SEC. Watch Sark's sideline. Doesn't look like this.
Nope.
Certainly doesn't look like the Sabans or Kirby's or anything like that. It doesn't look like Dabo's sideline at any point when Clemson's right. Like it, you can tell, and this doesn't pass the sniff test, but that's okay.
Yeah, I refer to it as a ragged disorganization.
Yeah, and that's they're
subs coming in, going out. Nobody knows who's coming in. Nobody knows who's going out. Nobody knows how much time's left on the play clock. Nobody knows maybe on the outside what the play calls are. It's just like, how can y'all be so disconnected? We've seen it. I know it's hard, but that's why they pay you $8 million, because it's hard. Not everybody can do it. And that's why they paid your predecessor $8 million, $9 million. And that's why they paid Bob Stoops $7 million, $8 million, because it's damn hard.
Also, the play calls are still coming in late for the defense. That's the part of that. Anyway, that's the part he should be good. That side of the ball should be good. So now we roll in part of the questions of this bye week, because the offensive coordinator stuff not going to get sorted, John, till the off season, which will start on December 1st. Breaking news: they're not competing in these last two games. Like, they'll play, but they stink. So now it becomes why did it take this long for Xavier Robinson when you've struggled to have any kind of rushing issue? And suddenly, John, because he played a couple of meaningless snaps against Texas and a couple of meaningless snaps against Ole Miss, if you continue to play him, he has now played 4 games. So are you burning Xavier Robinson's red shirt these last 2 years, at least with like an Eddie Pierre-Louis? I'm not saying that they're going to start Eddie Pierre-Louis or that he's going to play majority of the snaps or anything like that. But if he gets a drive against Alabama, 2 drives in Death Valley against LSU that could be key for, like, you've experienced it, at least he's not going to burn his red shirt. Like, what do you do with a guy like Xavier Robinson? And part of what I'll be asking Brent tonight is, you always talk about self-scouting. What is your self-scouting on your tight end usage behind the line of scrimmage? Because it seems to have been pretty like, how the hell does this keep happening? How does it make it out of game planning that you're running any kind of read? I think that I don't think it was technically a jet sweep with Bauer Sharp. I think that was an Arnold read, which he missed. But why is that an option to hand Bauer Sharp the football? Like, regardless of what I don't care what the actual, like, it was actually this. It was all bad, and how did it make it to the game plan at all?
Yeah, I think it was Gabe Eichert said it best on his Sunday podcast. They schemed this, they drew it up, and in the offensive meeting room, and somebody said, "Here's the play." And nobody in that whole staff room said, "I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good call." That's incredible to me that play, that what we saw, however it was supposed to be, that's how it was executed. That's how it was drawn up. And everybody signed off on it. That's incredible to me. So, yeah, Gabe said it great. And it makes you wonder. Xavier Robinson, he's at 4 games right now. He's played in 4 games. If he plays against Alabama or if he plays against LSU, he will be not a candidate to redshirt this season. So that's the bad news. Hope you love seeing him, because you're not going to see him again, or you're going to see him a couple more times and he's not going to be able to redshirt. He played 2 snaps against Texas. He played 2 snaps against Ole Miss, and he played 8 snaps against Maine. He comes in against Missouri, plays 26 snaps, and he's the best player on the field. Tackle this. He's running down the field, said, "Tackle this." Good on you. Another one for you. Jacob Jordan. Who? Oh, the walk-on true freshman wide receiver. Who? Yeah, no, Jacob Jordan. He comes in and he gets 48 snaps against South Carolina, goes to Ole Miss, gets 63 snaps against Ole Miss. He gets 34 snaps against Maine. Who cares? And he didn't play the other night until late third quarter. He got one snap against Missouri, unable to hold on to the football through some contact and a pretty heavy collision, unable to hold on to it. Ball goes down, not a third down conversion, have to punt. That's your one snap, young man. Dude, he for a stretch of 4 games, he was the best receiver on the team. And he gets one snap against Missouri. Ryan, I can't make sense of this. I cannot make sense of, with the running backs struggling so mightily, and Xavier Robinson comes in and just blows everybody's mind with how good he is. Dude averaged like 10 or 11 yards a carry as a senior in high school last year at Carl Albert. 11 yards a carry? And you're telling me he's not worth good enough getting on the field as a true freshman? Or only 2 snaps against Texas? I mean, again, their running back picture has been circling the drain for most of the year. And he comes in and he's automatically the best guy on the team. Jacob Jordan, you don't expect much from a walk-on, but you see him in practice every day. How come he hasn't been out there more? And how come he only got one snap against Missouri? It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder and ask questions about guys like Caleb Hicks, because we don't go to practice. We don't know. We don't know what they're, are they healthy? Do they have the right attitude, right? Are they earning their snaps? Are they earning their practice reps? Are they productive when they get their practice reps? All we can do is say, where is Caleb Hicks? Where is Jaquez Petaway? How come David Stone has played in 10 games? He's only got 79 defensive snaps. Where is Caden Helms? If your tight ends are playing like this, where is Caden Helms? Where's Devon Mitchell? Dude's not gotten one snap all year? I don't know.
With Devon Mitchell.
PJ Adebore's got 101 total defensive snaps. He was not on the injury list at Missouri, did not play in the game. I don't know.
Yeah, we at least know with Devon Mitchell that he clearly, Brent talked about it earlier this year, that he's just not even showing up to the right spot or on time, stuff like that.
He kept talking about academic assignments and going to class. Dude, can he get out of a 3-point stance and catch a football? Can he block down on the defensive end? Can he get out and elevate? That's what people want to know. Maybe he doesn't go to class. Maybe he's disrespectful to the professors. I don't know. I don't have any idea. Maybe he's the model citizen, and we just don't know. But you look at the big picture, 0 snaps at a position where you recruited heavily. You went out and got the number 1 guy in the 2026 class or 2025 class. And you're really struggling at the position. Throw him out there. See what he can do. Has he earned it? Have you told him he's definitely redshirting this year? Have you told him he's being punished for, bullying a parking attendant or something? We don't have any idea. Something's going on, right? If it's not anything that is like bad disciplinary type stuff, I say it's too late now. It's not going to help now, but geez, why not play him against Missouri? Why not play him against other teams? I don't get it. And then, of course, the big one, where we're at right now with the quarterback situation, you saw my column. I'm saying Casey Thompson. Is his knee healthy enough? Is he going to hold up behind that offensive line? I thought the offensive line was pretty okay the other night, better than it has been. Dude, why not? You've got a 7th-year senior out there who's played in 50 games. Give it a shot. Casey Thompson. I say go with Casey Thompson.
It's nothing against Casey. I think he might die behind this offensive line. I know that the
hard to watch
has been a little bit better, but like some of Oklahoma's best plays against Missouri were the times that Jackson Arnold ran the ball and then didn't fumble, and he can't do that. Like he's had too many injuries at this point. I get that. I also get, okay, you've now determined, hey, at least you have one answer coming out of this year. You need a quarterback in the portal. You at least know that with the way that Jackson Arnold's played. I would like to see Casey get in because it's a good story.
Yep.
I just don't think it's realistic to – I don't think it helps anything in 2025, and that's all you can do right now is help.
See, I'm taking a different approach. I'm saying screw 2025. If Jackson wants to leave, see you later. If Michael Hawkins wants to leave, see you later. We still got 2 games to play in 2024. That's, if I were the head coach, that's the way I would look
for anything, though. As much as like everyone's going to come out and say the right things.
Shock the world, baby. Beat Alabama at home. Go on the road and beat LSU.
Is that what Oklahoma football is? Play
Yeah,
spoiler to Alabama and LSU. If
yeah.
that's the case, then Brent Venables should have been fired weeks ago because that's not what Oklahoma like. Even in a down year, to circle the wagons and say you're going to turn to your seventh year to try and spoil Alabama.
Yeah.
That is what the Big 12 is. That like we were remarking on the drive home. It is remarkable that Oklahoma is going to go 5-7 and the field's going to get stormed 0 times. That's what Brent Venables has done to Oklahoma football. Now it is a unique situation of there were only 4 true road games this year, and Oklahoma actually won one of them. But Auburn wasn't going to rush the field if Oklahoma lost that game anyway. That is kind of remarkable. How many coaches have lost 7 games to Oklahoma and not got the field stormed on them? Those coaches are probably coaches that Oklahoma would prefer that have never been associated with Oklahoma football.
It's turning into a little bit of a pity party. I remember the 90s, man. I remember John Blake's years and the end of the Schnellenberger year. People were feeling sorry for Oklahoma football. People were just like, oh my gosh, they've fallen so far. That's what this is getting to feel like again, is that people are taking pity on OU. Not Drinkwitz, of course, but other people are taking pity on OU, saying this is sad to watch.
Drink is just fun for the whole family. I don't care. The SEC needs a head coach that is not like a macho meathead guy, and they need it at a spot that's not like a Missouri that is good enough and has resources to win games, but is never really going to be like Alabama or Georgia. They need something like that, especially after we don't have Mike Leach anymore, which Mike Leach, like in Mississippi State, was perfect. Maybe Drink a little bit different can be a version of that. But I mean, like what this Oklahoma team's playing for is 2 things. 1, 2025, and then 2, on the defense, they're not playing spoiler. A lot of those guys can go make a lot of money by having really good games against Alabama, against LSU. Yeah. But if you're circling the wagons to spoil Alabama's season, you should be fired as the head coach of Oklahoma, because that means Brent Venables wants to talk about the standard. That the standard is not spoiler. That's not what Oklahoma football is.
It's all you got. It's all you got at this point. You're 5-5. It's all you got.
That's why you need to be looking toward 2025. You need to be looking toward young guys who will be on this roster. Because if you're just trying to play spoiler, then I'm sorry. I know
that. I get what you're saying. Develop those guys. Get them going out and getting your throat slit against Alabama and being force fed whatever LSU wants to do to you. They got a tiger on the field down at LSU. They're gonna feed you to that tiger. I don't know how much that really develops a guy. If Jackson Arnold goes into Alabama this week or next week, and everybody says we need to develop Jackson Arnold, and he goes 6 of 22 with 3 picks and a pick 6, 2 more fumbles, that's not developing Jackson Arnold. That's basically saying he's not fit to play at this level. He can't compete at this level.
But Casey Thompson is not eligible to play football anymore. Like he is going to get a job next year. So like that doesn't help you either. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you're going to go that route, I would go back to Hawkins, and I think everything's kind of screwed anyway, because that's how.
Hey, I thought of something else. I thought of something else yesterday. Shuttling the quarterbacks in. Forget signaling and doing all this crazy stuff, doing all this hand jive. Have Hawkins on first down, have Jackson on second down. Hawkins comes in and finishes the third down. And then next series, Jackson on first down, Hawkins on third. I would absolutely love that. This is where the season has come to Oklahoma. Or maybe you just do it like he gets the first drive, he gets the second drive, he gets the third drive. That'd be cool too. But I think shuttling them in with the play call. Okay, look at me, Jackson. Here's the play. 429, X right, 4 pass, post on 4, whatever, right?
That's what they've come in their helmet. It's
and
not.
Right, exactly.
They just are
take the radio out. It has not helped Jackson Arnold's development. It has hurt, if anything. Send Jackson on, run the play, and then you call Michael Hawkins. You say, okay, Mike, here's the play, and then you send him in the game. No more miscommunication, no more communication breakdowns. That's how I would do it.
You're speaking my language. I told you this on the drive home. You can fire Paul Johnson, but you can't kill the idea, and that's what Georgia Tech did. They beat Miami without having anyone that could throw a forward pass. A great fixture of every Paul Johnson Georgia Tech game was like, and now Paul will tell the wide receiver in his ear hole what the play is, and he will run in. He will tell everybody, and then they will run it. It's a beautiful thought. Yep. It's also not Oklahoma football. And again, if you're getting to that, then you should just fire everybody. And that's what they should do anyway. Again, the opinion of Ryan, not of everybody else. I don't know what people are looking at. Brent Venables, the one good season he's had, he was more talented than everybody, and they got worse after the Texas game. They were an abomination against UCF, but they won. They lost to a Kansas team that wasn't any good. Oklahoma State showed that they don't belong on the same field as Texas, the Big 12 championship game, but they belong on the same field as Oklahoma. Beat them there. They should clean house, but instead we will wait and they'll clean house at the end of
Yeah.
a failure of a 2025 season. Because
Big picture.
again, all of
Big,
this little stuff that we're talking about, whether
yeah.
your OC is good or not, a good head coach does not have the substitution issues. Whether the play is good, whether it's been coached up well, whether Jackson can do it, all of that stuff can be down to a bad OC hire, which coaches are allowed to make bad hires. All the procedural stuff that we've seen for 3 years is not going to get better just because Jake Spavital is running the offense. Like I just don't believe that.
I agree. And remember, the 10 wins last year, you said they were better than everybody else. They were. They were favored in every one of those games except Texas, and that was ruled to be, statistically one of the easiest schedules in the history of OU football. They dropped off all those Big 12 teams that were giving them problems, right? K-State, Baylor, Texas Tech. So that schedule 2022 was literally one of the easiest in the history of the school. Flip it around to one of the hardest in the history of the program, and guess what? They go 5-5, and a serious threat of going 5-7,
and not close in most of those games too. Which I think that's
right.
important. It's a bad OC hire. You lose a bunch of one-score games. You fix that. I think everyone feels a lot different, but they don't, and they haven't, and that's where we're at. But we will see. Be sure you go OklahomaSooners.com for everything Brent Venables, the players, have to say on this bye week. Or if you just are a video person, John Hoover Media is the YouTube channel where everything will be. A bunch of softball videos populate that right now. We'll get to that here in a second. Football, not the only sport cooking, though, as we are in crossover season. Let's rattle through it here real quick. Men's basketball, they overcame a shaky start against Northeastern State to win by 16 on Monday night. Bryce Goodine, he was out of that game, as well as Jadon Jones. Those were the two guys that made 77 three-pointers a year ago for their respective teams. Oklahoma was chucking the three in the first half. It wasn't going in. Went to halftime. Porter Moser made the halftime adjustment, saying, okay, I know we want to be 3-D this year, but get it to the rack. Jalen Moore took over. Did it inspire a ton of confidence? No, but they won by 16. They fixed it. And everyone has like a really wonky non-conference. Again, not going to sit here and tell you that they're going to the NCAA tournament or anything like that. I'm interested to see what it looks like against Stetson on Saturday. That's the team coming to the LNC, made the NCAA tournament last year. Probably going to be without Goodine again. We'll see. That's an ankle thing. Jadon Jones is a couple weeks away. It sounded like weeks was the designation for Porter Moser after the Northeastern State game. He's got a back issue. So I think a good sign in that game would be take what you learned in the first half against Northeastern State, basically say, okay, if you don't have Goodine and Jadon Jones, then don't chuck just a billion threes and brick all of them. And we'll see what that looks like on Saturday as Stetson comes to the LNC.
So far, I know it's real early. They're 2 games into the season, but Jalen Moore looks like the real deal. 22.5 points per game, 7 rebounds. I love his variety. I love his what am I trying to say? The way he can score, the many ways he can score. And then another thing that I noticed about this team, again, early, and I'm sure it'll evolve. I don't know if it'll change much, but it'll evolve. They've got 6 guys averaging about 24 minutes or more per game, and that's probably good for them right now, with a couple of guys hurt as well. That'll probably thin out as the season goes, obviously, but yeah, looking for more good things. And like you said, the Stetson game is big. East Texas A&M is the team after that, but then they go to Atlantis and they take on Providence. They get either Davidson or Arizona. I'm looking at the schedule here. They finish on the other side of the bracket with Gonzaga, Indiana, Louisville, or West Virginia. But then comes the ACC Challenge, Georgia Tech, and right after that, a week later is Bedlam. And you've got Michigan in the Jumpman, and SEC play is right behind that with Alabama hosting. And so, I mean, whatever, what is that? This January 4th. So whatever Porter wants to get done, it feels like now is the time to get it done, because the competition is getting ready to ramp up. They're getting ready to get serious about some things. And if they can get into conference play, having accomplished the things he wants in non-conference play, maybe they can play 500 basketball in SEC play this year.
Jeremiah Fears has been really good too. I think that Moore and Fears is a something you can cook with. I do. It's just about Got to be healthy. We'll have to see how the rest of that translates. Georgia Tech, by the way, lost one of their bye games already. So the Jackets, poor Jackets. We'll see there. A team I feel a lot more confident in. The other team that plays in the Lloyd Noble Center, the Sooner women, Reagan Beers. She's your reigning AP Player of the Week, National Player of the Week, your reigning SEC Player of the Week. They absolutely drummed Virginia on Friday night. We were watching that game before a phenomenal dinner out in Kansas City. They re-racked on Wednesday for the field trip game and against Western Carolina. And all they did, John, was set a school record in points. They scored 122 points. They went 122 to 56. Reagan Beers is an absolute animal on both ends of the floor. What she does to anchor that defense, and then she's got everything she needs in her bag on the other end. But kind of what I wrote about today, John, is it's not just the fact that you've got Reagan Beers and Peyton Verhulst and Skylar Van and Sahara Williams. It's that you've got like Lexi Keys, who started 33 games for a year ago, led the team in 3-pointers. She's coming off the bench now. And what she does, she fully grasps Ginny Browncheck's offense as far as quick fire, one touch passing, basically what we call it in soccer, as far as opening people up. That I think is going to be, yes, Reagan Beers and Liz Scott having that kind of size Oklahoma hasn't really had together, going to be huge. But the difference too should be that they've got the depth. The problem is South Carolina's that good, LSU's that good, Texas is that good. So they're going to be in a fight. They're going to have their hands full in the SEC. Up next for them, they head to Wichita State on Tuesday. They'll then head out to Las Vegas. Their Feast Week game is the Ball Dogs Classic. They're going to play UNLV before that event out in Las Vegas, and then they'll play DePaul and then either Duke or K-State. So that's kind of what you're looking at before they take on Louisville in the SEC. ACC Challenge is sort of the run here for the Sooners before they really dive in and feast on what is a tough SEC schedule on the women's basketball side of things as well.
You're trying to get me to send you to that Las Vegas for 5 days, aren't you?
Well, the Vegas Bowl is dead. We're not going to be able to do that. I was kind of hoping to spend Christmas in Vegas. That would be fun. They're not going to go to a bowl game. So, yeah, I'll go out to Allegiant and hang out. Now, I'll go probably not watch the Raiders play because why would you want to do that? But
too stressful.
It's not stressful. I'm just rooting for them to lose right now. It's a weird spot to be in. But I would like Cam Ward. He looks to be #good. But yeah, the OU women are the best ticket on campus right now. I don't think it's close.
Yeah, and I feel you on the Raiders, man. I had Rams in Monday Night Football the other night, and I turned that thing off about the start of the second quarter. You can only take so much. I mean, I feel for Sooner fans. They have this standard, right? They love watching their team win, and when your team sucks, it's damn hard to watch. My wife gets mad at the Thunder, and she'll toss me the remote, and sometimes it like hits me in the shoulder or the jaw or something, right? She's not like pitching it at me, but she'll toss it to me. I tossed the remote the other night. I said, please stop tossing the remote at me when your Thunder doesn't win. Last couple of nights ago, I tossed the remote, and I was like, screw this team, click, and I tossed it, and I went, oops, didn't mean to do that, sorry. It's hard. It's hard being a fan. My fandom extends to the New York Yankees. Great finish, boys. And the Los Angeles Rams. Great start, boys.
It's tough sledding. That Rams Dolphins game looked like an OU football scrimmage, I imagine. With,
5 field goals? What?
Take the ball. No, you take the ball. No, you take turnover. Everyone, look under your chairs. You're going home with a fumble. Congratulations, everybody. Right. That's what that felt like. So, the Sooner women, they're rocking and rolling. Excited to be covering that all year. Excited, too, to ramp up the Sooner softball coverage. Still a little bit away. Don't panic. It's not February yet, but on Tuesday, we did get to talk to every single newcomer except for Isabella Emmerling, only because she had classes and couldn't get out of it to come speak to us schmucks. But really fun.
Ain't nobody come here to play school.
Yeah, all of the transfers except Emmerling, all of the freshmen, a really impressive group. Be sure you head OklahomaSoonersOnTheSide.com, hit the softball tab. They're all there, as well as your YouTube page, John Hoover Media. A couple of them went solo, a couple of them went together, but I don't even know where to start with that group. I'm going to try to start writing about them starting Thursday morning on the site, but a really impressive group. Had a lot of fun talking to all the new faces.
Yeah, and they're so mature, right? Even whether it's the transfers or the true freshmen coming in from high school, they're so mature. I can't imagine when I was 17 or 18 years old, dude, I was not mature like that. I was, yeah, it was bad. I
Yeah,
remember going back to a radio interview when I was in high school, and I found that tape like about, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, and I played it, and I was just like mortified. I was like, what am I doing? What am I saying? Oh my God. So I would hate to see me in the Twitter/YouTube era. Come on. What a
yeah.
disaster.
I'll give out a couple of superlatives here, and you'll have to go watch the videos to really understand what I'm talking about. Best quote, Abby Dayton. She is ready to come compete at Oklahoma. She's got a cool story. She worked with DJ Gasso, the younger Gasso, as her hitting coach at Utah as a freshman. Now she gets to work with JT and Patty. I'd say that the people that fans are going to want to root for the most. It was kind of cool how it worked out that Cheney Helton and Katie Lee McKay, the two Oklahomans of the class, went together, and you can just tell these are two young women whose dreams are already coming true, and they've not even played an official game at
Yeah.
Oklahoma yet. But one from Coweta, one from Caddo, just living the dream of playing for Patty Gasso. The whole family being Sooner. They talk about when they go back to Caddo or Coweta, everyone's just like, how's it going? It's Patty was joking with Katie Lee that the entire town of Caddo is going to be at Love's Field for every single fall scrimmage. So really cool there. And then the Patty Gasso All Business Award goes to Tia Malloy. This is not going to shock anyone, but growing up in the household with Lawyer Malloy and all that, and then her oldest sister played at Washington. Kiki obviously played at Tennessee. They got a younger one coming through. She's just like, accountability is what our household's about.
Yep.
And every single time any one of her sisters came back from school, it's like, this is what we're doing in practice. This is how you budget your time. This, and this. And the expectation is for every Malloy sister to be better than the first one. She's like, I expect my younger sister to be better than me. So the All Business Award goes to Miss Tia Malloy, who excited to kind of get to watch her get after it this spring.
That's weird. My kids don't have that kind of focus. Well, no, my daughter did. My
How
daughter
many
had that
Super
kind of
Bowls do you
focus.
have, boss? I think that might play into it a little bit.
It's probably my fault. Look at me. Of course
Well,
it's my fault.
we're sitting here on a Zoom call talking about OU sports. They were out there living it, doing it. Not there's anything wrong with what we do, but no, should be a ton of fun. So be sure you head to OklahomaSoonersOnSide.com. Like I said, Thursday morning is the target. I guess I'm the one that writes the stories, so if they don't get up there, then you know who to blame. It's me. But that's the target for when the softball series kind of gets rolled out, and one or two a week here as we get going. There's so much content should be out there. So should be very good for all of our men's, women's basketball coverage, for all the softball, for all the continued football coverage. Obviously, we're about to portal season, we're about to OC season, all that stuff. You know the website, no paywalls, nothing like that. OklahomaSoonersOnSide.com, totally free. Tell your friends to join us as well. And to catch everything, if you're like, man, I can't keep up with this all the time, just follow us on Twitter at Sooners on SI. You can hit up each of us. John's at John E. Hoover. I'm at _ Ryan Chapman. We got a guy Dakota at Dakota Gregory, does a great job there. He's also got a dog he's trying to get a home for. So hit up Dakota. Cute one,
Cutest
but they're
puppy.
at capacity. They are at capacity. They need someone for a stray. Or our guys Randall Sweet at Randall Sweet 5 or Bryce McKinnis at McKinnis Bryce. We will not have anything this weekend on the podcast front. Why? There's no game. Duh. So the next time that you'll talk to us, it will be midweek next week. Sooners on Side podcast, recapping the Venables Alabama press conference, previewing the Crimson Tide. Then obviously we'll have the post-game pod, all that fun stuff. But who for a bye week Wednesday? That's all I got. I hope you have a good week, my friend.
You too, man. We'll see you. We'll see you soon. Have fun with
Hopefully,
Brent tonight.
yes, I will. For our listeners, hope you're having a good week as well. Enjoy yourself this weekend. No one can lose this weekend. Just
That's right.
watch Thunder, all that stuff. We'll talk to you guys next Wednesday. Peace.